with some shady dude that I've never met. He makes hat pins and wears drug rugs. He's a flow artist, I've never heard of that. Hands me key bumps. He's got an LLC. Hattie hat pins. Just one bump, then I swear I will go to bed. Line after line, it's the most poignant thing that I've ever said. Line after line, just one bump, then I swear I will go to bed. Line after line, line after line, line after line after line after line.
Swear you don't have more? There's got to be more, right? It's gone? It's good. It's gone?
Wow. We're live. Andy Frasco's World Saving Podcast. I'm Andy Frasco. How's your heads? How's your minds? Are you staying out of trouble? Are you not letting the demons of playing the same set get you down, Nick Gerlach? Because Nick Hold on. Oh,
I know.
Gotta hold that in.
Okay. Hello?
Hi, Nick Chamian. Nick Chamian.
Yeah, Gerlach. You did that on stage last night. I mean, I like Nick Gerlach. I just met him. Great guy, but don't ever confuse us again.
Nick Chamian is playing bass with us again this trip. Feel like you're getting into real band camaraderie now.
It feels good. It feels good. I mean, these things take time and practice, and you know, the set is an hour. There's another 23 hours. You guys are up for those 23 hours. Nobody sleeps.
My question is it all about the music?
You know why he's asking me this? Because when we first started,
this fool got drunk. Yeah, you tell
you
fans.
tell it from your perspective. Tell it from your
This
perspective.
fool got drunk. We were getting drunk on the bus. It was like a late night bus hang. Just me and Nick. You know, we haven't really had hangs like that since middle school or not even high school. Probably middle school.
Yeah.
It was high school, right?
High school and a couple years after.
And he's like, you know what, man? You know, it's like, I think you were having PTSD when you first joined the band. It was just all partying and fucking. You're like, I'm just all about the music. I'm just all about the music. And then a week later, this man is ripping acid, wearing tie-dyes, fucking.
I did buy some pants with
Oh, that fucking cord's fucked up. I just got to hold that cord. What were you doing?
Is that better?
Yeah, way better.
I was definitely wearing like pants with crescent moons on them by the end of the run.
I swear to God, if people in our middle school and high school knew the hippies we became, they would laugh. They still laugh.
They laugh. But there's a hippie in all of us in some way or another.
All right, here we go. Tell me. What do you got?
I don't know. Actually, you know what's funny is like since being in the show, like playing these shows, I'm always like, dude, I'm a hippie, man. Like peace and love. And then like I come to these shows and I see like real hippies, and I'm like, dude, I ain't shit. Like I'm just like a fucking square. I'm a proud square.
We're sounding good though, and we're playing. You're making us play new songs, old songs that we never play. I mean, you really have put some energy into. You know, when it's show 110, you're just going through the motions sometimes, and you've really sparked some energy and creativity into this band. So I got to say thank you.
Thank you, brother. It's been a pleasure. Honestly, it's really fun, and it's like you said. You know what? This is our fourth time going out together, and each time I learn you guys a little more. I learn the set a little more, and
I'm starting to really love you. Like I've always loved you.
Finally.
But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're becoming boys.
Yeah. We're on like boy level that we weren't.
We were kind of like on the teeter tot.
Well, because you have friends of friends who you hang with, and
right.
You know, and we played shows back in the day. But no, we're doing laundry together.
He's all pissed that I had my laundry because I always put cigarettes butts in my pockets.
My clothes are stained. I'm a little upset. I am a little upset. I'm really trying to breathe. you know, but it's good. It's
I'm
good.
really trying to breathe. You're like the Aron Magner of this band. Aron Magner's on the show from the Disco Biscuits. Wow, what a transition.
Beautifully done.
He was Aron Magner in the Disco Biscuits is basically, you know, he has to deal with two crazy people named John Barber and Mark Brownstein. Yeah. And that's how I feel like you are with, you have to deal with me and Sean Eccles.
Yes, and there's a certain...
Sorry, Brian's calling me.
Not deal with, just... You got to ride it. You got to ride that shit.
It's two different personalities.
Yeah. So I think I'm good at that. I think I can, if I can just put my own ego aside and just... My whole mantra going into this tour was I'm just going to be a little shell in the sea. I said this to my wife before I left. I was like, I'm a shell in the sea. And like, if there's a little wave, I'm going to roll with it. And when a big wave comes, I'm not going to just roll it in the sea. And honestly, it's been working.
Yeah, you're way chiller.
So you're way more chill than you were last time. You were really not chill last time.
You're like, it's all about the music. You guys better be all about the fucking music or I'm out. I'm like, fine. So we're practicing songs at sound check. I'm coming to sound check. He texts me. He's like, hey, brother.
So proud of you.
Where are you?
Yeah, Andy, for those who don't know, Andy hates soundcheck. Like, it's not like a cue thing. He's like, I fucking hate soundcheck. So for you to come out and practice and lead the ship, I mean, it feels great. I love it.
Well, I'm here for you. I'm going to be the captain that you've always wanted me to be.
You're doing it. It's coming to fruition.
You guys ready for Aron Magner? It's gonna be fun. We're keeping this short because the Magner interview is like an hour and 10 minutes. It's really good. You don't get to hear Magner talk a lot. You hear Brownie talk a lot. You hear Barber talk a lot. But I think Aron Magner's the smartest guy. I mean, they all went to University of Penn, so they're all fucking, they're smart geniuses. But Magner can talk, dude. He has a very prolific. Do you know the Disco Biscuits? Have you heard of them?
I know the music. I don't know the guys.
You've heard of the Disco Biscuits?
Yeah. What's his name from Dogs in a Pile? Loves the Disco Biscuits.
Those
Sam
guys.
and all
Dogs
those
and Piles are the biggest Disco Biscuit groupies.
Yeah, they're just total jam hit.
Did you hear fucking Barber do that thing? I'm like, I didn't.
Actually, no, I didn't hear it. Sorry, I was working.
Sorry, I was working my ass off on the 100 projects I'm on. But you're going to love this interview. I mean, it's a Disco Biscuit. These guys are fucking batshit crazy, but they all put it together and they all got together and they're all happy now. This is the weirdest thing. I've never seen this band all like kind of love each other.
It's important.
It's important. Oh, especially like when you go through a bunch of shit. They've been a band for like 30 years.
That's really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're 25. I forgot, but something like that. But you're going to love it. This tour has been great. Pigeons, Frasco Dogs tour has been amazing, right?
Oh my God. It's so much fun. It's been fucking great.
Even our little headline shows have been fucking fun.
The people have been showing up. I just saw some people outside who were at Syracuse last night and they're here tonight and the vibes
They're
are
showing
high.
up to more. Thank you guys for showing up more. I think they trust that we're going to have different sets now.
Yeah.
Our fans used to be like, they're going to do the same shit. When we actually don't. We always change the setup, but now they really believe that we're changing the setup.
Yeah, no, there's a conscious effort behind the scenes. Ernie and Sean are on laptops. They're texting.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a communication.
We care, people. They care. All right, enjoy this this Magner interview. This interview is sponsored by Volume.com. Yes, the best live stream company on the planet. Chris, play some Disco Biscuits while I pimp out Volume.com. Volume.com, you're going to love it. If you're a content creator, go out there and fucking get your content out there. They pay you. I just got my first royalty paycheck from Volume.com. Let's fucking go. I'm not just a brand ambassador. I am getting royalties. I know jam bands don't know what a royalty is. Let me tell you, because we don't get royalties in the jam scene. Guys, get yourself out there. And if you're just a guy who just loves to follow their bands, we're trying to build a platform where bands, this could be the outlet for your bands. So get out there, support your bands. Follow my page, volume.com/Andy Frasco. All the videos, all the podcasts are stockpiled there. We're also like doing some music stuff on there where we're giving people sets and giving exclusive sets and music. It's a win-win for the people who are really deep into the Frasco and the UN world. You're going to love it. So head to volume.com. All right, guys, let's do it. Aron Magner, we're in Woodstock. This place is filled with fucking vibes, right?
Much love, much respect all around. We're going to fucking rock it tonight.
Much love. Man, you're turning into such a hippie. It is awesome. It's just crazy. I remember you, bro. You used to be a little rocker.
Yeah.
Now you're just a fucking hippie.
Fuck jam bands, dude.
What'd you say?
Fuck jam bands, dude.
Now you're a jam band.
Now I'm like this. Oh, hey, man, what's going on?
All right, Bo. Enjoy it. And next week, we got JJ Gray on the show. You know JJ Gray?
No. Who's JJ Gray?
No, that works now.
Is it right there? Okay, cool.
JJ Gray, he's an amazing songwriter from Florida. He's what we're trying to change the stereotype of what Florida man is. And JJ Gray is the actual Florida man, and he's fucking a vibe. All right. I'll see you next week. Wow. I think the best musician in this band is on the podcast today.
Have you heard Alan play drums?
I did. Aron Magner, how you doing, sir?
that was more
Disco Biscuit legend.
That was a pro Alan comment, not an anti Aron Magner comment.
What?
I am pro Alan too.
Yeah.
First time, long time, guys. This is great.
I know. My first question is, who's a bigger pain in the ass, Brownie or Barber?
Because we know it's not Alan.
We know it's not Al.
I think it depends if it's a day that ends with a Y.
It's tied.
I love it.
I like them both, but I don't work with them, I guess.
I love them both.
Yeah.
So, has Barber ever tried to fight you, Magner?
We're launching right into this, huh?
Welcome to the podcast.
I don't know whether there has been any physical altercations between me and John, and really the physical altercations has been kind of kept to a minimum over the years. We like to fight with our words.
Ooh.
We're like,
Ivy League.
yeah, like rap battles. When we get mad at each other, we just spit rhymes at each other.
That'd be hilarious. You would definitely win that.
Who's the most sensitive in the band? Brownie?
Oh, I mean, there's lots of different forms of sensitivity, man. I think we're all sensitive to a point, and I think all of our sensitivities want to be recognized as our unique sensitivities. And in our newfound maturity, I think that we're honing in on that in a really beautiful way, right? Like all of these things that you seem to be harping at are things that have plagued us in the past. They're products of arguably immaturity on all of our parts. And now we've kind of maintained this, growth, this emotional growth that all of us have been working on. And, listen, we're still not fucking perfect by any means,
Well, yeah.
but we have, for better, for worse, and probably for better, accepted these faults and foibles with each other and have learned to, deal with it appropriately within ourselves so that our reaction to it, when somebody else is feeling a little, what was the euphemism you used? Unstable? No, it wasn't.
No.
It was sensitive.
Sensitive.
When somebody is sensitive to something, the other person doesn't, or the collective group or whatever the fuck it is, doesn't need to blow it up into something more than just like what it is. Like, oh, my bandmate is being sensitive, arguably oversensitive to something, but that doesn't even matter.
They are
It's
musicians.
about like, this is a deviation from what we're all trying to accomplish right now. And I think that in the last year alone, that maturity has kind of like come into focus a little bit more, where we're able to see that like, oh, this is a distraction. What we need to do is, write more songs. We need to play more markets. We need to, be better. We need to be better as a band. We need to be better as individuals, whatever it is. And again, it's not fucking perfect. And like, we're not in like group therapy and trying to like work on all these things together. It's just something that we've all kind of like found at our individual pace. And I think that the product of this banner year that the Disco Biscuits seem to be having is part and partial because of this like emotional maturity that we all have developed of recent.
Why doesn't he talk more?
Andy Frasco.
Why does everyone else have to fucking talk?
Aaron
Aron just explained it completely. Why the fuck is Brownie and Barber talking when
gonna
he
hate
knows
us.
exactly what the fuck to say?
I have a question about that, actually. Do you everyone's a dad now, right? In the band?
Yeah, correct.
So do you think that everyone having kids has kind of helped that process and like moved it along or added some perspective to that?
100%. I mean, certainly not the only variable, and you know, whatever. Are large doses of psychedelics also, helpful to that? Yes, right. So, like, all of these things play a role. But yeah, I mean, it humbles you, right? Being a dad, it gives you kind of like taking large doses of psychedelics. It gives you kind of a 30,000-foot perspective on life, and all of a sudden the little shit kind of stops mattering as much, or you realize like how much little shit there is, and you're able to deal with all that little shit so much better. Literally shit, shit coming out of your child's legs even, and you have to like deal with this, and that reminds you of what life's little stressors really are.
What have you learned about yourself becoming a dad versus when you weren't a dad? What are the little things you've like kind of saw in yourself that you'd like to change, or versus stuff that you, wow, I'm growing musically, I'm growing mature wise? Like, show me the things that pre dad versus now dad.
Talk Andy into having kids.
No, fuck no.
That was such a sad sound.
Air horn for child.
I don't know, man. I'm just kind of like, following my wife here for like, what I do, and I'm just picking up her cues. No, I mean, you hear like this phrase all the time, like, there's no guidebook to being a dad, and it's fucking true, right? Everybody is thrown into this thing, and like, dude, you can like be talking to your friends who also have kids all you like. It is 100% going to be different in your world, right? It's how you deal with things specifically. It's how you deal with things as with your partner. And, a lot of it is like kid dependent, our first round of kids, we had twins first, and, that was the fucking bundle, and they were crying kids, and we just kind of like thought that was like the deal. And then when we had our third kid, he wasn't as much of a crying kid, and, obviously a singleton is a lot easier than twins. And we were like, holy fuck, we can do anything, and just like, in whatever your vocation, when you do something that you didn't think that you were able to do, and then you prove to yourself that you were able to do it, you become a different person, typically for the better, because you prove to yourself that like you can do something, even if that wasn't what you were setting out to do. You just find yourself in a different place in the future.
Jesus fucking Christ. This man is throwing fucking truth bombs.
I told you.
Why are we wasting our time with Barbara? We should have went straight to the goddamn source.
I like those guys too. How old are your twins? I'm leading into something else here.
They are 12 and a half identical.
So 6 or 7 years, and you can start a side project with them?
I mean,
you got to get one on drums, one on bass. It's working for Brownie.
For the last 12 and a half years. Yeah, man. They don't seem to be as musically inclined as I would like to start a band with. They are young, and they are incredibly creative, which is just like so cool to fucking watch, right? Like, these kids whose like views of the world are so minuscule right now, and that it's only going to get like bigger the more experiences that they have. So, what they're playing with is so unique and so pure, this like creative thing within their brains, that allow them to like, I don't know, draw these fucking amazing things. And, they sometimes like collaborate on comic books and what have you from there. And it's fucking awesome. So if there's any bit of creativity that I lent them through my DNA, it seems to be expressed through visual arts.
What about your wife? Is she creative?
She is actually creative. She's an eye doctor, so that's not what she does for a living. But we have collaborated, for lack of a better word, on different projects of mine. Specifically throughout the pandemic when we had nothing else to do, and then a little prior to that and through with the Spaga side project that I have, and she did. Number one, the album artwork, and which is simply, it's like a origami rhinoceros, right? But it's literally a picture of our kid's piggy bank, rhinoceros origami piggy bank. And that then became this like, I don't know, the spokesperson for Spaga. But yeah, she helps me with like all the ad mats, and, I do copy her on emails when there seems to be a large group of people that are looking to get, I don't know, social content out for a side project show or something like that. So she is very active in my, professional life as a as a supporter and a partner and a cheerleader, should be. And it's amazing. And it's made our relationship that much tighter, and this was something that, we just found in 2019, 2020, the ability to get together. And then, there was even some beautiful stuff that happened during the pandemic when, we were all locked inside and the hustle was so fucking weird, right? The things that we were doing for money, like some random person would reach out with like a sponsorship from a cannabis company and be like, yo, we have $500 if you can like record yourself at home with these other people who had recorded themselves at home. And it was like, holy shit, $500, right? That was like an incredible gig in April of 2020.
I'd take that now.
The hustle actually became we were basically selling private piano performances out our back door.
Really?
They were streamed, right? And we would sell it to a group of 10 people, and one person would be the point person and collect, money. And it was a reasonable amount of money, once you would collect from those 10 people. And every Friday and Saturday night throughout almost the entire pandemic, at 9:00 or what have you, we would stuff the kids in the basement. Here's your video game, don't stop playing for 2 hours and don't fucking come upstairs. And then she was my videographer, and would set up in her amazing aesthetic way, different cameras and camera positions. And then she learned whatever the program is to be able to mix me while I played a concert. And she was kind of my liaison to sell it to the people that wanted to buy a concert during lockdown.
Yeah, Bayless and Annie did that too.
Oh.
Annie was kind of running the show for Bayless's Why Not?
Oh, that. Yeah.
Why not? That's right. But the difference is maybe they're better people. They were doing it for free.
No, they're not better.
There you go. Make that money, baby. Philly's expensive.
Yeah, Philly's expensive.
Can't stop the hustle. So I'm wondering, you're so busy all the time. Now you have kids, you're touring and stuff, and she's an eye doctor. How do you have time to still fall in love with each other?
That's a good question. Well, I'll say that we kind of refell in love with each other a couple of summers ago, for no particular reason. We weren't out of love and then refell in love, but I think all three kids were in camp for the first time for 6 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it was, and we were doing some construction on the house, and we couldn't really, we could sleep in the house, but there was nothing else to do. The first floor was all under construction. So it kind of forced us to be out of the house as a couple, right? And, we would go to dinner when she would come home from work, or we would go, visit friends because our house was in such disarray. And we had this amazing summer, we would get out of the house strictly because there was a sunset happening and there was nothing to do in the house, and we would go somewhere to watch the sunset, right? Awesome things like that. And it was, consistent every day for the 4 weeks that the kids were away. And it really reconnected us in a way that I don't think we necessarily, needed to, but we did. And It was awesome. And I, noticed it, and we, talked about how it was awesome. And then that was it. Then we moved on with our lives, and we never went back to I wish we could reconnect the way that we did over that 4 week period.
Right.
It's just we're just in a fucking place right now. And that was a really nice 4 weeks. And hopefully we can get, a couple of days of that again, or a couple of weeks, but whatever. We go with the flow. Everything is always fucking up and down, especially in this industry. And especially as her needing to, be a spectator of my career, in this industry with the fucking roller coasters, but also my partner and my, part psychologist and whatever it is to bounce things off of. So, it's always up and down. We know.
Yeah.
that.
It's I feel life, you don't have to be reminded if growth happens. You don't need to be reminded that you're growing. You maybe have that moment of growing, and then we can move on. It's the same thing you said about how you had maturity level with your bandmates. I think it's the same type of philosophy, right?
Yes, but I think the thing that we do as humans is we don't pause to recognize that, right? We don't need to fixate on it by any means, but I think it's really important to call out the positives. So for instance, I just heard myself verbalize this, hopefully it won't come across as a conceited statement, but I feel like I am a better musician than I was, just 2 years ago or 3 years ago, right? And 2-3 years ago, I felt like I'd been on this plateau for a really long time. And I kind of became content with that. I was like, okay, I guess this is where I am as a musician. And that's okay. It's not so bad, but like, this is, I guess, where I'm going to be, because I'm not the guy that like, I play every fucking day, right? But I'm not the guy that like runs scales and learns new theory and wants to take lessons from blah, blah, blah,
Right.
So I have noticed, and I said this, and now I'll, move on, but like, I'm a better musician than I was 2 years ago. And I just kind of recognized that. And I think that that's really important just to say for a second, right? I might be on this new plateau for the next, 10 years, and I probably would be content with that. But now that I know that I'm not on the previous plateau, there is a chance that if I continue doing what I'm doing and then some, I could potentially climb up to that next plateau. And you don't necessarily realize it, I guess, like while you're on it. But like, I guess now that I realize that upswing is possible, I kind of have more desire to reach it, so I might be more motivated now to, reach out and take lessons from blah, 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 or to learn new things, or to actually sit down and get into some real theory shit, Like I'm saying, I play every day, but I don't do probably the things that you do, Nick, on sax, right? I watch you fucking sax
I haven't seen
players.
this man
You guys
touch a
are
fucking sax in like fucking days, dude.
No, I practice.
Yeah, of course you practice, right? Because that's what sax players do, You look at like Dom Lally, man, he's like getting ready to go up there on stage playing fucking like ascending quarter notes. That's all motherfucker does, during the show, other than everybody get your hands up, right?
Yeah, you're right.
For the show, it's
right.
And he's just running that because that's like who he is, and that is his his center of gravity before he gets out on stage, and he needs to know that for himself. And I think that that's fucking awesome, and it keeps him top shape in everything that he does, so but when I sit down, I'm not reading Charlie Barker's Omnibook, right? When I sit down at the piano, I'm kind of that's my meditation.
Right.
So
I see it in your playing too. Like you're in a fucking zone, dude.
For sure.
I can get into like what I can only describe as like flow state now, and it's awesome, right? And I think I can get there faster by myself because there's just less variables and input than when you're playing with the band. But I'd certainly get there with the Biscuits. And that's my meditation. So I'll sit there and I'll just start with a blank slate and I'll end up somewhere else. And sometimes I record it and sometimes I don't. And I'm fine with that. And I always seemingly feel better. It's like going to the gym, right?
Yeah.
You go to the gym, you might complain about it, and then an hour later, you're like, I feel so much better.
I feel amazing. Yeah.
The realization that you could get better is pretty powerful. Like I had that same epiphany thinking when I started writing better songs and realized like, I don't need to fucking always have to crowd surf or fucking chug a bottle of Jameson to get people going anymore. People are there for my fucking songs.
Yeah.
And then it made me
will.
want to get, I still will, but not as
but
much.
You don't have to, which is nice. Yeah.
But like, the idea is like fear doesn't help us get better. Like that idea of like, oh, this is it. This is my plateau. That's like, I like athletes. I know you like athletes too. Kobe and stuff was always taught me how to kind of get into that flow state of trying to get yourself better. The zone of just trying to like work hard and get better. Was it like that in the beginning years of the Disco Biscuits? Were you always just everyone was trying to like push each other to get better? Or was it just, let's have some fun and let's enjoy the moment?
Yeah, I think more the latter. I don't really think we ever perceived ourselves as like, musicians, right?
Yeah.
And, I'll say something for the scene. It is very possible that indirectly the scene has kind of like provided this influence on us to become a better musicians than we previously were, right? Why? Well, we go on these things. Let's say, let's take Jam Cruise, for example, right? Where you have such an amazing collection of friends and musicians that are doing, cool stuff with their projects that they're on the boat for, but also random stuff in like the jam room or the jazz room or whatever. And we get to see this facet of these musicians that, we don't necessarily understand in their individual bands. And then when we form friendships with these musicians, you know, they're like, yo, you want to come in, sit in tonight on whatever show, or yo, you want to do a side project? Yo, I got an offer from a promoter, whatever it is. And it kind of like keeps pushing us forward outside of our comfort zone, right? Like, you know, we could play our Disco Biscuit version of electronic music until the cows come home. But in order to be a more, you know, versatile musician, I have to have my chops in all of these different genres, you know, and playing with these other musicians, you know, whether it's like, you know, Eric Krasno in, you know, random pickup side projects, you know, or Reed Mathis, or, you know, the bass player fucking Spaga, Jason Fraticelli, you know, like all these musicians that I'm playing with, or even like Ross James. I'm playing with Ross James this week, next weekend out in Denver.
I love Ross.
And they push, I do too, but all these musicians, you know, have their own set of influences and types of music that they want to lean on, types of music that they want to play, people they want to play with. And it motivates me to absorb more music with a, you know, with a purpose, right? Oh, fuck, I got a gig this weekend. I have to learn these 15 songs, but let me really figure out what Billy Preston is doing in that song. You know, yeah, I can play Will It Go Round in Circles, sure, but like, let me make sure I have those things. Not to say I'm going to like play it, but because that's how I learn, you know? And then I kind of feel good, like as a musician, like you have to know and respect and study what happened in the past in order to like, you know, move the art form into the future, right? Like,
what are you looking for to get
not
better? Like when you said
cool.
versus playing versus like really learning the songs, what are you learning in your brain or trying to visualize of how to really dissect the song?
So okay, well, maybe that's not the best example for, you know, the intention that I have when I do listen to music and I want to learn from it. I think the biggest takeaway from listening to the stuff and absorbing it, aside from like, oh, that's a cool little lick that I might be able to put in my arsenal, is a sense of harmony and harmonic movement, and, you know, how notes within the chords even, you know, go to their closest resolving point, right? You know, I found there was like things that I was doing as a musician where I was playing, you know, whatever, an F#7 chord in the same inversion, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that every time it calls for an F#7 that's what I should be playing, and I have to be aware where the next chord is. If I have multiple notes, I need to make sure that all those notes go to the right place, and this like sense of harmony, my ears are getting significantly better because of it. And yeah, man, I'm just having fun, right?
Yeah.
That's it. I'm putting no pressure on myself to become a better fucking person, a better human, or a better musician. I don't have that like strive to be better the way that a Kobe Bryant does, but I seemingly am.
Let's fucking go.
Are you going to play a sound effect right now? What sound effect?
It's all about voice leading.
Less pressure. Why do we put so much pressure on ourselves to be better as humans when really we just have to trust ourselves that we are going to get better?
Oh, I think we have to put that pressure on ourselves. If we don't, then, I mean, you know, I think we'd all be fine just kind of sitting at home smoking pot every day. Right?
Yeah, but you said you're not putting that pressure on yourself, and the outcome is you're becoming a better person.
Well, I think there was a lot of distractions in years past where that thing of like wanting to, you know, get better involved, being able to do something outside of the band, and that made you better, right?
Right.
And, you know, and it, that kind of makes sense, right? Like you want to, you know, not put all of your eggs into one basket, or, you know, we're all smart people and we, you know, can do other things other than be in the Disco Biscuits. But at the end of the day, when we start looking at ourselves and who we are and, you know, why we're here, you know, and what has gotten us here for the last 30 years, it's us as a band, you know, and the Disco Biscuits that have really, you know, propelled a career for us. So I think if you acknowledge that and lean into it, then you just start to become better. You know, I heard Barber say something at one point, like, you know, the first part is just showing up, you know, and motherfuckers fucking right about that.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
Like when
He's
we
such
get
a fucking
together
G,
to, like,
dude.
you know, 100%.
Fucking
right?
love that
but
dude.
he's having his own epiphany. He's having his own epiphanies, right? Which is awesome. And it's awesome to see this, like, you know, epiphany that we've all had, you know, John included, of like, oh, wow, the power of collaboration is powerful. For me, maybe I realized that earlier because I'm more aware of my potentially more aware of my weaknesses, right? And what's great about collaboration is that my strengths are complemented by somebody else's weaknesses, perhaps, but my weaknesses are definitely compromised by the strengths of others that I'm collaborating with, and that's the beauty of it. And I think that's one of the reasons that the Biscuits have been so productive in the last year or two.
So they're selfish in the beginning years of their career. That's what you're saying.
What do you get at?
Everybody else is crazy, and I am perfect. There it is.
What?
Yes.
About your side project, Spaga? Like, why did you start that? And like, what do you get out of that you don't get when you're playing with the Disco Biscuits?
Well, number one, it's a trio, right? So there's one less factor, and it's a big factor, right? Like, love playing in a quartet setting. But when you play in a guitar forward band, that's kind of where the default goes, right?
Yeah.
So there's not another melodic and harmonic factor, so I have a lot more freedom in Spaga. It's like I said, piano forward, and that kind of just got me back into music and playing, and it strips away all of my crutches, right? My ability to loop, my my never-ending palette of soundscapes that I have with my synths, and I could like paint whatever kind of environment that the song calls for. But with the piano, it's a one-trick pony, right?
Right.
And so it's literally like I'm up there without any clothes on. This is like literally who I am, warts and all, right? Like, I like to think that I'm a good musician, but there are thousands and millions or whatever it is of, musicians, professional and not, that can do fucking circles around me, right? And, but that's fine. I'll deal with that with my own therapist, but it makes right. But it makes me a better musician. It's just like putting myself into environments where I'm not fully comfortable just pushes me to be better. So there's your example of a push.
What's the difference between writing it for your trio versus writing like a musical? Or like how you do those space musicals? Are you part of that with Barber?
Space opera?
Space operas. Yeah.
There are two different things. Yes, let's get this right. There is the space opera, the Disco Biscuit space opera called Revolution in Motion, right? And then there is the musical, which is called the Very Moon Musical,
right? Which
is based on John Barber's 1999 rock musical, rock opera called The Hot Air Balloon.
I fucking love you guys, dude. This is insane, dude. Like, you guys are all about music. Like, is it always been like this? Like, you've always, like, what about, I want to know, like, what was your early life, Aron? Like, what was your parents, like, pushed? Were they strict? Did you have trauma? Give me the deets. Like,
were they taking you to piano lessons every day?
Yeah, or did they not give a shit about you, so you had to, like, prove their worth, so you had to be a badass piano player? Like, give me young Aron Magner.
Okay, so I guess there wasn't really much pressure, because when I told my dad that I was dropping out of school going into my senior year, in good standing, so that I could go on this second or third tour with the Disco Biscuits.
What college?
His response at an Ivy League school. If you're gonna drop out of school, may as well be an Ivy League school.
What were you studying? What were you studying there, by the way? What was your major?
So interestingly, I mean, I chose Penn because I was just starting to become a professional musician in the high school, right? And I had like my contacts and my Philly music contacts and stuff like that. And I wanted to stay in Philadelphia to kind of maintain those, but also I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I didn't have an excuse to do anything else. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just go to college. Like, I got accepted. I've got the grades. Everybody else is going, whatever. And I tried to find something that interested me as much as music, and couldn't, but not for a lack of trying. I mean, I was like bouncing from every department. And I think by my beginning of junior year, they called me in to like the administration office, and they were like, yo, you are the last person in your entire class to declare a major. So like, you got to figure something out.
You're gonna be here for 7 years.
Van Wilder,
I
dude.
mean,
Van Magner,
Tommy,
dude.
Tommy boy.
I was like, people seem to make money like as lawyers. Like, let me take like Law 101.
Right.
And I just remember, like, what the fuck? And I was like, okay, how about poli-sci? Don't even know what poli-sci is. Sounds fancy. And I was like, I have no idea what you guys are all talking about. And then finally, like, I guess if I had to pick something, I'll do this silly music thing. I didn't like the courses that they had. It was all like legit theory, classical history theory, stuff like that. And eventually committed to that, and I actually had a fun year of taking like classes in Penn's music department. And then the band was doing another. I wasn't really going to class, but my professors were kind of cool with it. And then basically, I needed to make a decision to shit or get off the pot, and I did not go back my senior year. Growing up, I always kind of liked to play piano. My neighbor was a piano teacher, and I kind of stayed with it much longer than the other neighborhood kids did. And then I got tired of it and kind of stopped playing for a couple of years. And my parents were cool with that too. And then probably 2 years after me not taking lessons anymore, and like prior to that, my dad was taking me like a conservatory in Philadelphia, and that stale classical stuff kind of turned me off to music, I think. But I was like turning 11, and I was like, I wanted to hang out with friends or whatever. And then around 13, I randomly decided to get back into it and asked my parents to find me a new teacher. They did, a master by the name of Peter Simpkins, and he introduced me to jazz. And very quickly I was like, hey, none of this classical stuff anymore. Just want to learn about jazz. And did that for a little bit, and then got another teacher by the name of Michael Frank that, was really active in the Philly scene, and he really got me accelerated in jazz. And then I went to college, so still playing at the level of like a high school, jazz player, which, Nick, like you have kids that have like talent, but they're not real musicians yet.
It takes a lot of experience to get good at improvising. There's just years you have to, get broken up with, and all that kind of stuff.
So why didn't you just pursue music? Were you afraid of your parents that they wanted you to go to college? So like, was it like you're doing it for your parents instead of doing it for yourself?
No, I didn't know what I could do with music as a career. Like, I didn't want to be a teacher. And I wasn't exposed to things that I had interest in at the time, but didn't really know where to pursue it, because this is fucking 1994, right? Like, right. What about like, music for video games or for scores or, anything really that you can do these things as a well-rounded musician, as opposed to needing to, do what I do now, I guess, which is like hustle and travel and airport. And like every time I want to go work, I have to, travel hundreds of miles to do it on a Friday or Saturday only. It's weird, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But that's very fascinating
Not the
to me.
best commute.
That totally makes sense. It's very confusing to find a path in music, especially that younger in life, when you weren't acceptable to the traveling gig. You weren't part of the traveling gig yet, right? When did you start getting into those traveling bands and stuff? Was that at college or?
Yeah, I mean, the first time really like traveling for gigs was with the Biscuits, right? Mm-hmm. So
holy shit!
I pretty quickly, so my sophomore year, right, like all living in the quad at the University of Pennsylvania, and throughout like the fall and winter of that year, every Friday and Saturday night, I'd be the guy, like as everybody's walking out of the quad to go to their parties, with a keyboard and potentially a tuxedo under, that I was wearing to like go off into a fucking jazz gig to make $300.
Hell
right?
yeah. That was a lot of money in 1994. That's like $8,000 now, I think, with inflation or something.
I mean, it's hard out there for musicians. It's good money in 2024.
Plus, you gotta compete with all those UArts kids too. But that's not a school anymore, is it? I guess.
That's correct. Yes, there is no you, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
And then I met the Biscuits that summer between my freshman and sophomore year. And, we just started to like have fun, right? Playing music. Those guys like kind of had a previous band with another keyboard player under a different name. So they had like one or two original songs amidst, Grateful Dead and Fish and the Allman Brothers covers. And, by the time I came into the mix, those covers were kind of like on their way down and originals were kind of on their way up. And we just did our thing then that we're still doing now, which is like, as much time as we have available to commit ourselves to it. I mean, we kind of made fun of ourselves as the hardest working band in show business, which I can't imagine is actually true. But, we work really fucking hard, and we've been around this country a bunch of times for many, many decades.
What'd you see in Barber and Brownie at first? Did
I
you
want to know
realize
about 18-year-old Barber and Brownie.
Yeah, what the fuck were those guys up to at 18, like 19? Like, what'd you see in them that you wanted to join a band with? Because it feels like you guys are very opposite people.
It's like I can almost tell what he was like when he was 18, but those two I have no clue.
Like Barber was like selling fucking alcohol from his from his apartment, What'd you see in them that you said this has potential?
Well, I remember having an initial conversation with Mark prior to, when we met, when he just reached out to me because, he had just fired their previous keyboard player and a mutual friend introduced us. And I remember that first phone call, and I was at like a frat party that they had played. And I do recall the bass player, it turns out to be Mark, kind of using the instrument more as a solo instrument, and not necessarily for.
So incorrectly.
I mean that in a good way. We can talk about the bad ways of that, but I mean that in a good way, right? Where he's playing the bass that is, not just like indicative of, hey, here's the chord changes, I'm doing this, and again, it's not like a soloing thing, but he is throwing stuff out that really keeps us on our toes. Mark is one of my favorite bass players to play with for, harmonic reasons, right? I think he makes, for the most part, very smart decisions at the right time to really alter a harmony, and keeps us all on our toes. So I thought it was interesting. I'm still super into the Grateful Dead. So, having a band be interested in me that had the same kind of ethos, and I hadn't really ever played in, I wasn't never in a rock band prior to this, right? So I had to literally learn how to play triads and take out the colors and upper extensions of the chords that I was so focused on in jazz, right? And kind of learn these basic techniques of how to play rock piano, which I gotta say probably took me a couple of decades to really wrap my head around. You know,
it's gotta be harder. Like if your philosophy was jazz or classical, it's like, how do you get out of your own way to like learn a new
the whole different
style
technique?
Yeah, listening. That's it. You know, cool. What's Nicky Hopkins doing in this thing? Oh man, that's awesome, right? Those like just perfect lines, and it's not necessarily like, oh, here's the piano player playing, some boogie woogie under like a Texas whatever guitar thing. It's what do these piano players lend to the music that is so important that it wouldn't be the same song without it.
Right.
What about synthesizers? Did that completely change your life when those came into your rig?
It did, in fact. I mean, there's a famous a show from Halloween of, I don't know, 1990, whatever, where I played, where I got my
Third
first,
Eye Blind was famous. I don't know.
How you say in English, 1997.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was this JP8000 synthesizer. I saw at a music store, and I fell in love with it. I remember getting this first synthesizer, the JP8000, the Roland JP8000, and telling my dad, I was like, Dad, this is going to change my life, or that was at least my pitch to have him, purchase the synth for me. And it fucking did, man. I mean, that synth is still, it's a different JP8000, but it's still a staple of my setup. And though I think there was a lot of factors that help shape our sound, there is, one moment that in time that we can definitely go back to and be like, this show with the advent of this synthesizer, was one of the prime factors in changing the trajectory of the sound of the Disco Biscuits. Right. And that's kind of fucking cool.
That is cool.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Always. I mean, not always. Do I get to? I don't know.
How
Here we go.
personal?
Okay. Darren, what do you got?
Did it break your heart every time Barber wanted to quit the band?
Yeah, of course.
What was the first time like?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't listen. The Disco Biscuits have been rived with strife for our entire existence. I mean, literally, the very first Disco Biscuit concert that we were playing at, the very first Disco Biscuit concert that we played at Smokey Joe's in West Philadelphia was the first time that the Biscuits broke up. Mark had like left the band wanting to he like caused a fight because he wanted to go on Fish Tour or something like that. So the very first concert billed as the Disco Biscuits on the chalkboard marquee was with a different bass player that I helped sub out.
That's hilarious.
So listen, the Disco Biscuits have had strife since day one and continue to. I don't necessarily think that it's fair to kind of, hit it on one person or one story. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy ride. I'm so appreciative that we're in a different place than we were because, like, to your point, yeah, man, there was a lot of emotional reaction to, not just the many, internal fights or whatever that we had over the years, but at various times different band members would kind of check out, for lack of a better word, right? Explore other things that they could potentially do in life and kind of forget about the fact that there's this band and band members that are like we have a show in 3 weeks, are you still in? Or
my dad hates me because I quit school. Barber,
I need to pay my rent.
You're out here fucking making a tech program. My dad is gonna put me into fucking detention.
Selling goo balls on Fish Lot.
You want to sell goo balls at Fish Lot, Brownstein, while I'm out here fucking worried about my dad fucking excommunicating me?
Sounds like you.
I mean, listen. We maybe had we said those things to each other, we might have been in a different place.
Right.
I think back at all these things, I don't think we ever threw that guilt at each other of like, you're preventing me from, or you're preventing us from, reaching our, potential, or, we never really provided that guilt. It seems so fucking obvious, I guess, when like there was a person that outside of the motivation that the rest of us had, and be like, dude, you see all of us like, making emails, text messages, you're the only one that's not responding.
Right.
That stuff should be obvious, but I don't know, maybe it wasn't, but whatever.
It's hard to communicate. And it's hard to learn communication, especially with brothers in your band.
Yeah. And you're young.
Yes.
And you're young. Yeah.
Yes. So all of those things, especially with brothers in your band, especially with the without outside help, it's like the reason that whatever businesses or executives or bands or sports teams get a professional to come in to help assuage these situations or help foster communication. Communication has never really been our strong suit, and it's kind of cute that we're just figuring that out, how to communicate with each other now without like
30 years in,
without offending each other.
I love
right?
it. Barber's like, yo, we're actually practicing. Magner's like, we're actually communicating.
It's like when a boomer married couple finally goes to couples therapy 30 years into their marriage.
Yes. But like, thank God though, because like, you don't want to regret anything at the end of your life, and like, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get to communication. As long as you get there, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and listen, we kind of like made fun of ourselves in this like bubble of positivity, that we've been in, right? But it's kind of fun, number one, because it couldn't be more obvious that positivity begets more positivity, right. And probably the antithesis is also true, right? Yeah. And it becomes really obvious when somebody, potentially inadvertently steps out of that bubble of positivity. No longer, would we feel compelled to be like, you're an asshole, you're doing this, stop doing that, right? It's because we're of this hyperbole, a bubble of positivity. It's really fucking obvious to that person when they're out of the bubble of positivity, right? So it kind of like quickly helps to like reform. And, listen, we're not, doing like, okay, down on bubble, up on positivity, right?
Can you please do a video of that though? You guys need to do that for your next show. Make an Instagram reel of you guys.
What was the first time when with this all positivity vibe going on, and the first time you realized is like Barber's like, "Hey, brother, you want to go out to lunch?"
No,
like, what the fuck?
No, I'm scared.
Totally.
Or like, hey, you want to just talk? But you want to have a cup of coffee and talk?
Calling me on the phone right now.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
Oh, if I want to see a movie tonight or come over for a swim, what is going on?
Am I getting dumped? It's
like very suspicious. Like,
That we
How much money do you need, Barber?
that we should talk about. We need to talk.
But yeah, it's got to be. That must feel good though, bro. Because all the years of fighting and like miscommunication to now finally like feel like you're talking and have a brotherhood with it again. It must feel good to like not have that on your mind, so you can just focus on music now.
It's not even talking. It's not talking.
Mm.
You know, that's the wonderful thing.
That's hot,
right?
I like that.
That's hot. The power of shutting the fuck up.
No, I mean,
Yeah, it's hot.
100%, you know, or the power of kind of like, you know, setting boundaries and be like, I know you want to talk, but I'm not the person to talk to, right?
Right.
You know, those powerful things in that at the very least, you know, keeps us focused on the task at hand, which is, you know, hopefully this like music thing. But I mean, here's another, you know, microcosmic example of that. You know, we got new management, whatever, a year ago, and prior to that, we were so immersed. Benny Baruch.
Love that guy.
Shout out
BB.
Prior to that, we were so immersed in, you know, all the little facets and parts of our business, you know, ranging from like the shows and the deals and what's going on here. And there's a problem with this promoter over here. And we'd be involved in like all of that minutia. And, you know, now it seems we're in, you know, not just capable hands, but like sharp hands, you know, where we like, we trust that they're making like good decisions, you know, on our behalf. And it has enabled us, or at least me, to kind of like not really care at all about any of that stuff that I used to spend so much time in my day, you know, talking to, you know, the old manager, or even when we didn't have managers, or, you know, a booking agent, or, you know, a problem with a crew member, and kind of like, you know, doing all that stuff that just became a distraction from
Micromanaging.
You know, like I said, and now I don't fucking involve myself in any of that.
We love new managers.
You know, I'm happier for it and so much more productive for it.
Do you have time? How much time do you have?
I mean, dude,
Okay.
I have plenty of time.
Okay, because I also want to pitch you on a string. Will you compose strings on my record?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Who introduced you to
Oh
drugs?
my God,
Magner. Which biscuit introduced you to cocaine?
I don't know.
You guys do cocaine or psychedelics, or what were you
Magner
doing?
to be a big cocaine guy.
Dude, it is 2024. Not doing cocaine is the new doing cocaine. I don't know what year you were living in.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm not doing cocaine then.
No, but like what?
I
You don't seem like a guy who was taking drugs when you were in high school. Like what was the first day you like tried pot or acid or?
At a young age, you know, pot at a young age, because I was really into the Grateful Dead and that, you know, counterculture type of thing. So, you know, I think first time I did pot was like at a Jerry Garcia did pot. I already sound like I'm 48 years old.
Did pot. I did pot. It was Jerry.
At a Jerry band concert
I was high on beer.
like 1989.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that was my first time with the pot, but kind of like stuck there. And, you know, I have always been somewhat intimidated by, you know, new drugs that kind of like seem scary. So I was always in high school, like, you know, I was a mushroom guy, and that was kind of it, like not even acid, right? And didn't get into like, you know, that type of psychedelic until later in college. But, you know, and then, you know, obviously had my fun experimenting with all the new fun things that were coming out in the 90s and, you know, and everything like that, which definitely helped change, you know, the trajectory of our music as well. But really, I mean, I'm fucking 48 now, man.
Yeah.
I found a nice, like, you know, hat trick with mushrooms, tequila, and Zoloft. That's my cocktail.
Ooh,
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
Zoloft.
Are you on antidepressants?
That's what Zoloft is.
Yeah. Well, how long you been on antidepressants for?
It's an anti-anxiety.
Oh, anxiety.
Yeah, sorry.
And for, I don't know, 2 years or something like that. And really subscribe to it, you know, to the point where it's interesting that I feel so comfortable talking about it right now, but I don't think I felt comfortable talking about it, you know, 2 years ago, and certainly, you know, not prior to when it wasn't something that I wanted to, you know, put into my body for whatever fucking reason. But it's been a game changer, you know. I think I'm a pretty stable person. You know, it's a mood stabilizer, right? That's really what I use it for. And I'm a pretty stable person as is. but I surround myself with unstable people. And so what this drug has, including my 3 little children, I'm not just talking about my band, right? And what it does is it gives me that like split second to process whatever situation that I'm in, a conversation or an environment or whatever it is, where I don't react to that situation or that comment in a chemical reaction, and it gives me the ability to almost like hear my inner voice, hear the tone of that sentence that's going to come out, alter a couple of words all in a fucking millisecond, and then it comes out. And it's been a game changer for me. I have never, low dosage, and I never felt any sort of like side effects where I even needed to have any further conversation. And even crazier, it's like, dude, I've spent a fucking career experimenting with drugs. Why would I not experiment with like, another drug like
that a doctor gave you?
Yeah, a doctor will give you. But I think it's a stigma, man. People are afraid to talk about that they're depressed, and especially males. That we're afraid to be vulnerable and take things that'll help our brain figure this shit out. Like, what was it 2 years ago that you finally said enough is enough? I'm going to do this.
I think I was. I don't fucking know. I don't think there was an epiphany as much as like something needs to, change, something needs to happen. I was doing kind of like, because it was the pandemic and had the time available, like weekly therapy. I don't think that there's a shortcut where you can just take some fucking Zoloft, their entourage effects,
Right.
you do the medication and you do your fucking talk therapy, and they work together. They're not mutually exclusive of each other. And I just kind of fucking did it, and thinking that it was going to be more of an experiment, the way that it's almost an experiment anytime I put mushrooms in my mouth.
Right.
And it was a positive one with positive results, and also, my wife got on it around a similar time, and I saw, again, same thing, low dosage, didn't really like have a specific reason other than it's a lot managing a family and 3 kids and a career and everything like that, and me just noticing in her very little things, right? Just like the patience she had with our kids in a situation where I didn't think she would be as patient with, whatever the situation was, or whatever it was. It was a positive effect. And so I continued to, and I had more conversations with friends about it, friends that had been on it, a doctor friend of mine that is one of the most talented doctors that I know that is also on it personally, and I was like, holy fuck, like, what am I doing even questioning this? Clearly, this is right. And that was a right decision.
Man, growing old is so cool.
I know.
I see myself like 10 years ago, and now I'm like I'm maturing a lot more, and talking to you and then there's more maturing. Like, I'm 10 years younger than you. So I think that's the beautiful part about keep going in life, because like you're always going to change, right?
Yeah, totally. I need a space for a second to think.
No,
it's so nice that we can edit it out.
Yeah.
Go back for a second. My brain went forward.
Growing old is cool.
Just growing old is great, and like realizing that we can change and we can mature and we can have all the things in life and still be happy and not have to do all the substances, and still find other ways to be happy and figure out other ways to like mend relationships. And I think that's the beautiful part of growing old.
I found a new thing in this midlife, I guess, that I'm in right now, which is sounds so silly to say out loud, but wisdom.
Right.
A small part, but what's cool about it is I like this wisdom, just like kind of like a more of an understanding of how the world works, more of an understanding of, the history of civilization and people, and how that kind of like, it makes more sense now, even looking back to like, what 100 years ago was, or God forbid 200 years ago, right? When we were kids, 100 years ago was ancient history, and now you realize how short of a period of time just like 100 years is, and so that wisdom that I seemingly have gained just with this like midlife thing, I'm motivated to kind of grab more of it the older that I get, right? So I'm not in that like focusing on, you know, my beard is getting gray, my joints are getting achy. I'm like, oh, cool. What else is kind of coming, you know? Because you see those older people that are like, dude, that motherfucker is wise, right? And they might be super smart and super wise, but they might have just like lived a good life. And that is kind of like that wisdom is what I'm now looking to attain. And I think that you do it in lots of different ways. I think that like, you know, experience is one of them, right? Whether it's like having experiences with ourselves, but having new and different experiences and traveling and seeing the world through other people's eyes. You know, we just took a family trip to Iceland, and, you know, my wife and I were just in Iceland 2 years ago, but we brought our kids this time, or two of them, right? And we did some similar things and some different things, and like getting to like have that experience, but like reliving it through their eyes, it makes it a new and different experience for me. So like all these things, like, yeah, man, I want to know what is going to happen in the future. You know, I want to know what like AI is going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I want to know, is Elon Musk really going to get us to a different planet? You know, because we're going to fuck this one up, and he's setting the course for like the rest of human, you know, civilization to be a multi-planetary like civilization. Like, I want to know that, you know, and I think because of how fast everything is going right now, if I do end up leading a, you know, pretty long life, I might be able to get a pretty good understanding of at least the questions that I have now, you know, and see where that the trajectory is going to go. So
This guy fucking rules.
I told
Aron
you.
Magner, you fucking rule, dude.
I told you, it's smart.
You're the fucking man.
are we new friends? I feel like
we haven't really.
ever-
No, exactly. I feel like Barbara's been hoarding me from you because like he knows we're
He
gonna
was- I told him that I was
gatekeeping.
going on your podcast. He was excited.
No, yeah, because I really, you know, all jokes aside, Barbara and Brownie are such huge inspirations to me, and like they're like my close friends. Like,
Yeah, they're the-
Barbara has been such a champion to me, and Brownie too. It's just like I'm a big fan of your band. You are one of my favorite jam bands. You know, it's like, and just musicians and friends. So it's really nice to talk to you now because you play my instrument and you inspire me to be better. So it's like I just want to say thank you, Magner. I know you have 1,000 projects you have to work on mixes on. So we'll let you go. We want to say we love you.
Oh, I was hoping that this interview could end the way that Bruce Hornsby ended his interview.
I know. Hey, bro, gotta go. When I was like, yo, so tell me about heroin and Jerry Garcia. Later.
Yeah. Sorry, it's been exactly 1
Well,
hour.
I think
Goodbye
my
to
time
you.
is up.
But I'm just, I'm just thankful. I love you. I love your band. I love every one of you, and I'm just so happy you guys are happy. And I'm stoked that you guys are stoked playing and you're catching another wave. And it's just cool to see like my friends fucking doing it. So thanks for just putting up with their bullshit.
Yeah. I'm sure Magner has his own bullshit. Come on.
Yeah, what's your bullshit, Magner? What,
I mean, I definitely do. Of course I do.
What do
but
they
have to
pissed
be
off
blown-
at you about?
Blown up.
What do they get pissed off at you about?
Okay. There is there's a very constant thing in our band of overplaying, right? But that's a thing I feel like in any band.
Yeah.
And whenever that conversation comes up, I'm reminded of like the Spider-Man meme, like
Where they're all pointing at each other. Yeah. Listen, it's the guitar player. It's always the guitar player.
That's fucking hilarious, dude.
it's always the guitar player. John said to me the other day, he was like, I mean, I play the least notes of any member of this band. I just let him have it.
Oh my!
I let him have it. Like I let him own statement, and I was like, okay, I guess.
Hey, it's cool because they're the
interesting.
loudest too. So not only are they the most, they're also the loudest.
That is the biggest crock of shit ever. Barbara tried to tell you that.
That's only because he has all these fingers. He's not counting the ones he's playing all at the same time. That's why he's not.
And then I listened back. We played like a fucking incredible show, all four of us at this Elements Festival the other day. And I'm listening back to it because it was really fucking good, and I'm proud of us. And I'm trying to do calculations, so I'm setting up the rules. So I was like, okay, if I'm playing a chord with 8 notes in it, that only counts as 1, right? It's anytime you take up space, right? So I'm now trying to figure out, can I get an algorithm and actually clock these things? And it's hard because any data, and I'm obviously not going to do that, but any data you can, manipulate in order to prove whatever you're trying to prove.
Right.
So, there's lots of different like areas of different jams. We play so many different stylings of jams, and, depending on how comfortable or motivated somebody is with that jam, they might be playing more and they might be playing less.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome. Elements look fun as hell.
Where was that again?
It's like I saw the stage. It looked insane. Like the whole
Ethos?
visual.
It's in the fucking Poconos. Is the
yeah.
Pocono Speedway, which is like 2 hours from me. I'd heard of the festival, but like I thought it was just like a small festival. I didn't think it was going to be like that big. And it's really fun for us to show up to these electronic music festivals where DJ is probably still Rockstar, and we might still be Black Sheep, even though there's other bands on the bill. But we're still a minority there, and we show up and feel confident doing our thing, right?
Yeah, it's sick.
And as opposed to say 2012, where we weren't confident doing our thing, and we were trying to find different things that we can do within our arsenal that will, give us that power that the DJs do, right? So we were experimenting with playback and all those types of things, and we were getting further and further and further away from like who we are as people and as a band, and we were trying to be something else that we weren't. And that kind of plagued us for a little bit because we lost our ego, we lost our like sense of self for a few different years in those like mid-teens. Then kind of started getting it back recently, but I think we started getting it back because, we're just like more confident in who we are and not trying to be chameleons. But we also started implementing some really cool, like technological stuff that we could incorporate into the ethos of our improvisational setting, without having to compromise we're just playing along with the computer, there's a backing track on the song, right? We really don't do, backing tracks, but we do harness the power of computers, and now have figured out how to use that computer as, an actual musician in the band, as opposed to just, stalwarting its way through like, this is what I do in this song now, and I can't do anything else,
That's
and that
cool.
Really it is fucking cool. And to your point of communicating before, here's a perfect example of communicating. For years, we were plagued with, this is just one example of things musically we were plagued with. Not being able to communicate effectively on stage about tempo and where we were, right? And fights would definitely ensue, like from thinking that like, that Alan, why didn't you get to the tempo that you knew that I wanted to be at, and it's like, well, you didn't, communicate that to me, or you did communicate that to me, but you were being a dick trying to communicate that to me, or whatever it is. And then we kind of found that like,
I love it.
I mean, it's so simple, right? If we're at 128 and you want to get to 132, you go into the talkback microphone and you say, hey, Alan, can we pick it up a few clicks? That's it. Right? And like,
no problem, brother.
As simple.
He's so chill too. He's like, yeah, sure. Here it is, perfectly.
Instead of like, you're dragging, piece of shit. Like, hey, bud, let's just pump it up a little bit.
I mean, I honestly don't even know what like the, miscommunication was, right? Was, Alan like, mad at other things that happened and was manifesting, things that happened in the past when somebody was telling him to increase the tempo, was the person telling him to increase the tempo saying it in like a rude way or whatever the fuck was happening. It turns out all you need to do is just say nicely, hey, let's pick it up a couple of clicks, and then it fucking happens. And, that was a huge holdback for us. But now we actually like, that is a non-issue anymore, right? Cool. And so these like beautiful things that can kind of happen with just being able to communicate with each other. Here, I'll leave you. I know I'm rambling, but this is a really beautiful thing that happened. A couple of festivals ago in Ohio, Mark was struggling on stage for whatever his technical reasons were, and was like letting the band know through a talkback mics in a panic that he was having his difficulties, but it didn't seem, at least to us, that it was cause for like alarm. Like the jam was still moving. You'll get your chance to breathe in a second. It doesn't sound as fucked up. It doesn't sound fucked up to me at all. And Barber said, back to him into the talkback mic, like, just whatever it was, like, you're doing great, man. Like, holy it doesn't sound that bad.
That is huge.
Just keep on doing your thing. I know you're having like, your whatever it was, like, I hear you, right? And that's an important thing that, we don't,
just like you and
we don't
Sean.
do enough.
Just
right?
like me and Sean. Yeah.
But it was perfect. And to take it even one step further, I gave positive reinforcement to Barber afterwards.
Whoa.
Right? Like, hey man, it's like, because I wouldn't have been able to accomplish that on, if I would have tried saying that into the microphone, it probably would have somehow made things worse.
Yeah.
So Barber was the perfect person to say it, and he used the perfect words to say it, and I don't know how much it actually, gave Mark the comfort that he was looking for, but I imagine that it did. That was definitely something that we would not have done years ago, and it came about like organically, and Mark was like, upstream without a paddle, and John just gave him that paddle and was like, here you go, man, come back into our current. We're waiting for you. All good. Take your time.
Oh yeah.
And that was awesome. And I like that. That's the place that I want to exist in.
You heard it from the source. The Disco Biscuits are happy.
They are friends.
They are friends. I might have to delete all these
I hear
happy
like the voice
stories.
of David
No.
Attenborough.
I gotta say, you guys
for
are
long.
starting to realize that Disco Biscuits, sneaky handsome band.
Sneaky dude, Aaron's hot.
Aaron's a good looking guy.
Aaron's hot. Barber's hot. Brownie's getting he's a
He's
little
got a
weird.
vibe
He's
to
got a
him.
weird hot.
He's got a vibe to
He's
him.
got a
though.
look.
Alan's hot too.
I feel
Alan's-
like Alan is a
Alan's
stallion
ripped.
right now.
Yeah.
Look over at his long flowing hair.
He's fucking
Yeah.
He's
ripped
like,
too,
he's
yeah.
Adonis status going on right now.
I
with
love
that
it.
Is he still living
long
out here
flowing
in Colorado?
red- He is.
Yeah,
He's in Southern
He lives in
Colorado.
Parker. Or
Yeah.
something.
We should get him over here and talk. We should get we'll have just like it's like a
Good luck
band
get-
therapy session.
Good luck getting him to talk.
He
He's
won't talk.
Not exactly.
Have you heard any words from Alan before? Like, yeah.
Alan is hard to penetrate.
Yeah.
Whoa. Hey.
I know. It was coming out.
Not
and
in
I
my
couldn't get a
experience.
synonym.
He said
And I
come,
was
too.
like, fuck, here you go.
Penetrating
Maybe
cum.
Frasco will say something funny.
That's hot.
I love Alan. I love playing with that guy. He's the man. He's always really nice to me too about my playing. So.
He's super nice, and yes, he's soft spoken, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a real conversation.
Of course.
He does the work, man. He's a hardcore
Badass.
meditator, and really goes deep within, and that is a place of comfort for Alan. Like, I'm not the fucking meditation type, but it's clearly working for him, and mad respect for that. Alan leads an incredibly healthy lifestyle that sets a really positive example for band, not just in his veganism as we eat like the fucking pigs we are on the road.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was
but,
vegan.
like,
Actually, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, motherfucker will run 10 miles after the show.
After the show, dude, he's insane.
I love that.
Chris Myers used to be like that. I don't know if he still runs, but he runs a lot too.
Yeah,
Healthy lifestyle.
not anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I see that man at 4 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah.
That ain't happening anymore.
Well, he used to be. He used to be a runner. He
It's
used
so
to be a
cute,
track star.
Those Humphreys guys. Now, we developed this like relationship with Humphreys over the years, right?
Yeah.
We're all like good friends, and we're comrades, and we support each other. There's interestingly like no competition between the two of us, even though we're at the same level
Yeah.
of jam history, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool. So or dumb tours or whatever, right? Where we get together and play shows, or we do these festivals on the beach in Mexico and Jamaica. But when we were first becoming friends with them, like, I would look at my crazy fucking tumultuous band and the relationship that we had. And yes, it's always been unconditional love. We've always been a band of brothers, but
Right.
tumultuous. And then I look at Humphreys, and to me, they're setting up fucking barbecues and trading fucking recipes and playing
Football.
like they've got, their baseball mitts on tour, and they're fucking playing catch in the parking lot,
Right.
Don't let it fool
That's
you,
wholesome.
Yeah, they hate each
Magner.
other,
They
too.
hate
Don't
each other
worry.
too, brother.
They're still a band. They're still 6 musicians.
No, it's
They get along.
they get along.
I think if they have an advantage and they have more people, so you can section off and be like, you're not as on top of each other as much too.
And
And fair.
you have to fucking get along if you're gonna be doing this. Like, how long you been doing this now with your band? 20 years?
Over 30, man.
That's what I'm fucking talking
We're
about.
approaching 30, something like that.
That
Right? That's insane.
Let's fucking go.
Their band was in elementary school on 9/11.
We're like, we're not dating anyone if they don't know what 9/11
Yeah,
is.
I'm telling all my guys in their 30s, I'm like, you can't date anybody unless she remembers very well 9/11. That's your rule. Or she's too young for you,
Interesting.
bro.
Too young for you, bro. All right, let this man go. All right, goodbye, Matt. I love you.
Goodbye, Frasco.
Goodbye.
And Nick. Thank you,
Bye.
guys. That was great.
Good talking to you again, man. It's been a while.
That was great.